and for chairing this session. Next slide, please. I wanted to look at the global data on suicide. In 2012, we realized that about 800,000, there were about 800,000 estimated suicide deaths worldwide. Globally, amongst young adults, 15 to 29, it accounted for about 8.5%. In high-income countries, 3 times as many men die by suicide than women, while globally the corresponding figure is 1.8 times as many. The issue of high-income countries is also particularly interesting because people feel, well, people kill themselves for lack of money. Yes, that's one. But in high-income countries, there are also areas where we have high numbers of suicides. So it's not just only the economy, but more than that. Next slide, please. Everybody, I attended a meeting in Grenada. Yeah, I think Grenada 2 years ago. And every report that we spoke about was something bad happening in Guyana. Every time it was gloom and doom. So one person from the audience just got up and said, those of you from Guyana, can anyone tell us something good coming out of Guyana? I felt really bad. And I was looking towards the chief medical officer to respond. Chief medical officer gets up and goes through the door. So I got up and I said, yes, a lot are happening here. And you don't read them. You don't read them because we don't publish. I think it's time for us to publish. Otherwise, the good things that are happening, we will never know. Why did I put up this slide? For many years, for almost 3 to 4 years, we've been #1 on the suicide scale. They call us the suicide capital of the world. Well, Guyana is not a capital. Guyana is a country, so I don't know who coined that name, suicide capital. So, around 2012 to 2015, we were the #1. The age standardized death rate was 44.2. Now you realize now we dropped to 34.8. In fact, in 2016, the data came to the data is now hovering around 29.6. And that means that a lot has happened. Even though we are still higher, but we are falling. And I think we need to fall. We don't want to take the place of Korea. Next slide, please. I tried looking at the data in terms of the countries and the progression that we're seeing. I looked at the age standardized death rate at 2000 and then 2012. So I just wanted to see the rate of change. Cuba, minus 21.9. Suriname, plus 40.4. Trinidad, plus 3.8. Now you look at Guyana, minus 8.5. It means we are falling. While some countries are doubling up. Please don't tell them that they are doubling up. I just want us to continue to fall. Next slide, please. I just wanted to show you more of the other countries that are falling. Bahamas, minus 23.6. Barbados, minus 33.6. Belize, minus 32.6. Well, Guyana, minus 8.5. I think we're going to be falling even some more. Next slide, please. The male and female distribution, we are all aware that about 3 to 1 males kill themselves as compared to females, but 3 to 1 females attempt suicide more than males. I think we should learn from our female colleagues. Next slide, please. Suicides in Guyana. It is the 3rd leading cause among persons aged 20 to 24, and the 4th leading cause of death among persons aged 10 to 19 and 25 to 44. I think we need to do something about it, and we're doing something about it. I think the problem that I see is that some of it is disjointed, and this brings me back to the issue the plea that I made to Kampa, that we need to standardize the practice of professional psychologists. I mean, what people do in the field. People call themselves so many titles. I'm a counselor, I'm a senior psychologist, I'm a junior psychologist. I don't know what it means. And sometimes when you look in the content area of what they are doing in the field, some of them are even injurious to the trend that we are seeing, the current information they do not have. So ladies and gentlemen, I think at least from the power angle, we definitely welcome Kampa and the work that UG is doing. Definitely suicides is high within the regions. In terms of the regions, we've always known that Region 6 is the highest, followed by Region 2. However, the data that we have now at 2016 still shows that Region 6 is the highest, followed by 5. No, Region 4 is the highest, followed by 6, 5, 3, and 2. Now, why did I put this figure out? Because generally, from the age standardized death rate, the number of deaths within Guyana should range from 220 to 240. Now it's 170. That shows a lot of things are happening. And that makes me happy. And I think that should make all of you happy. I hope. So now, even if we take 170, it is theorized that for every one completed suicide, you have about 20 to 25 attempted. So you multiply this by 25. Let's take the gross end. Multiply this by 25, and we have that many attempts of suicide in Guyana that we don't know. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we need to do more. And then the other thing that I always talk about is that it's a spectrum. Suicide occupies a spectrum, because then you have the first stage, which is ideation, then the second stage, which is planning, then the third stage, which is attempted, and then the fourth stage, which is the completion. We only measure the completion and hardly the attempts. So in the first two stages are mixed. We don't have data on that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to look at, and we need to begin to look at them now. Next slide, please. I tried looking at the various regions and their population to let you know in terms of the average and then the rate. If you look at the rate, even though you cannot see it well, it's not intentional that I want to say anything so that you can see. It's Region 6 has the highest rate, that as compared to the population that they have. Region 2 and then 6. We've always said it's between 6 and 2, and we need to focus our attention there so that we get the most out of that. Next slide, please. Deaths by ethnicity 2016. East Indian 132. Afro-Guyanese 21. Amerindian 6. Mixed 8. So it's clear. I think what baffles me, and I may probably have a slide there. Afro-Guyanese and Indo-Guyanese, when you look at the data, the attempts are almost about 30% of the population. However, the completion, you see what is there. The Indo-Guyanese tend to complete the suicide as compared to the Afro-Guyanese who do not seem to complete. So then something is happening in there that we need to look at. The other thing is, if we look at it by religion, we see the same trend. Hindus more. Is it a factor? Is it a factor of definitely? I don't think it's a religion. Is it a factor of culture? Is it a factor of there are about 5 hypotheses out there, and we need to look at all those hypotheses. And I think I've approached Professor Molore and others, probably to help us, to look at that. What are the hypotheses that are likely to be in operation here? One of them is because Indo-Guyanese are the farmers, they deal with the organophosphates, and the organophosphates then after a while lead to impotence, and with impotence people take their lives. That's one. Yes. Some are saying yes, they are the farmers, they have access to the organophosphates and other herbicides, and therefore once you have access, easy access, when you are mad about something, you just take it and go on. And like I said, I'm in the presence of eminent psychologists, so I don't want to say anything that you ask. which psychology school did you go to? Because I went to none. But I've been told that out of 10 people, only one is sane at any one time. So I was going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So ask them, which one of us is the same? I know I'm not the same one because when I got here, I was trembling and letting the same. Once you start trembling, that's a mental thing. So I'm not the one. But, so I'm telling you that every one of us has an issue. It's how we deal with that issue. And therefore we must take that very seriously. I think this is like one of the things that also I personally found very interesting, and I don't know what explains it. If you look at among the Christians, you realize that the Adventists happen to have the lowest. And the Pentecostals have the highest incidence of suicide. Why? We don't know. That's what the data is telling us. And I hope the data is correct. Whenever I say I'm using data, it reminds me of when I was doing public health at Columbia. There was research research from University of California. And that research showed a BSc student doing his thesis. Thank you, sir. Doing his thesis, and the thesis was to look at the predictors of auto traffic accidents on a particular highway. And this guy just decided to look at the colors of the various vehicles and realized that the vehicles with the highest incidence of accidents happen to be red colors. So I stopped buying red cars. I'm telling you, it's not all the research that is pertinent. Obviously, this one has some spurious findings. But this one, we really have to dig into it further and find out what exactly is happening, so that we can begin to wrap our minds around that. The other thing is, if you look at the religions, if you look at the religions, you realize Muslims have one of the lowest. I mean, after Presbyterians. What's happening? Is it a religious factor? We don't know. I think we need to know some persons to research it further for us. Next slide. And like I said, being the presence of eminent psychologists, I'll just give you the possible etiologies. That it could be personal, genetic, social, psychological, cultural, biological, and situational. Next slide, please. I think I talked about this already, the suicidal ideation leading to planning, leading to attempts, leading to the suicide. And like I said, if we factor in 2015, the number of suicides were 277. Therefore, in Guyana, attempters were almost 7,000 people. And that is mind-boggling. And if there were 7,000 people who attempted suicide, the first time, they did not complete. The second time, they go further. The third time, they try to complete. And then also in Guyana, we have one of the most absurd laws. If you attempt suicide, it is criminal offense. So, if I attempt and I don't succeed, I'm going to jail. Why do I have to complete it? Ladies and gentlemen, I think I made a presentation to Parliament, and I was very vehement on that. And it so happened that both sides of the aisle have agreed, to do something on the laws of risk factors. I don't want to go in, too much. There were health systems and society risks, there are community risks, and any individual risks. Next slide, please. The more common ones are acute emotional distress and depression, accessibility to lethal substances. Like I said, the Indo-Guyanese tend to be the rice farmers, and they have access, and therefore easy access leads to compulsive behaviors and impulsive behaviors that leads to the suicides. Aggressive tendencies, alcohol, family history, dysfunction, previous suicidal attempt. It is said that persons who normally complete are usually people who have attempted before. Yes. And therefore, we need to take that and look at that more seriously. Lack of social support systems. Next slide, please. Proven management strategies. I hope I have at least about 5 minutes left. The proven management strategies, I think I will leave that out, and it's something that we can discuss amongst ourselves. Crisis intervention, work of psychologists cannot be underestimated. The pre and post-vention management. Why is the post-vention management important? Because, like I said, if you multiply those who complete, the attempters happen to be about 20 to 25, the number of those who complete. And therefore, with every post-vention case, we need to make sure that they do not become a case. Then surveillance. Surveillance is a major issue. We do not have a handle on our data. I keep quoting the Christopher Columbus School of Management theory. That theory says when Columbus set out from Europe to the West Indies, he didn't know where he was going.
No.
When he got to the West Indies, he didn't know where he was.
No.
When he got back to Europe, and they asked him, "So, Columbus, where have you been?" He says, "I don't know where I went." That's what happens when you don't have surveillance. Because you don't know what you're doing, you don't know where you've been, and you don't know where you're going. Are we going to be the next Christopher Columbus? Well, after so many years, we better not. The public health model, next slide please. Surveillance is an issue, identification of risk and protective factors, development and evaluation interventions, and then implementation. I wouldn't go through that much because I think time is of the essence. Next slide. Funding and human resources. And human resources, we need to standardize the content matter that we are using within the communities. Yes. And that's why we need proven psychologists. That's why we need healthcare workers who know what they're doing and what they've been taught in a structured manner. Like I said, sometimes I met someone who is doing work on suicide through a church. And I asked about the content material. And I said, "Can I refer you to the mental health unit so that you talk with her?" Because I was just blown away. I mean, you know that they mean well, just that they don't have the wherewithal. And we have to help them. So the human resources is important, funding is important. Next slide, please. Focus on the UN technical cooperation. I think I'll leave that out. There are areas that we can support. As PAHO, we've helped the country do the National Mental Health Strategy, the National Suicide Action Plan. The only thing is we need to put them in force. Research is a major issue, and I think I'm hoping that Kampa and UG we can come together and work with you so that we have a handle on research. Next slide, please. I'd like to finish off with what I consider the pertinent laws for consideration, and this is what I gave to Parliament, and I'm hoping both, like I said, both sides of the aisle have asked us to assist them. We are not, we are a public health agency, we are not lawyers, but we have a public health lawyer now working with us. One of them will be to look at the Criminal Law Offences Act, which criminalizes people who attempt, and we want to decriminalize that because someone who attempts suicide needs help, doesn't need to be put in prison. And then the Summary Jurisdiction Offences Act, the Pesticides and Toxic Chemicals Control Act. The pesticides one, the issue with that is many years ago, I'm told, before I came to Guyana, I'm told once, if you're a farmer, you go and you get a note to go and buy these pesticides. Then you are given a box or a cupboard by Ministry of Agriculture, whereby it has 2 keys, and you have to stipulate who are the holders of the 2 keys, so that if you are going to take the herbicide, I sign and you sign. I cannot go by myself and take it out. Now, nobody knows what has happened. I think Prof. Harris has just looked at his report, so I better wrap up. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think we need to go back to that. If we can ensure that people who have access to herbicides, it takes 2 people to open the herbicide box. We need to make sure that we enforce it. Now, what happens is that when someone dies through ingestion of poisons, nobody even goes to find out what went wrong. We gave you a cupboard. How come that someone was able to access it? there's no enforcement. So we need to look at that. The Customs Act cap. The Customs Act cap will then streamline what comes through into our country so that the poisons are well controlled. The mental health, the mental ordinance, mental hospital ordinance cap, and the food and drugs. I wouldn't want to go through the details because I don't think there are any lawyers here, and I don't want to attract any questions on law. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for your time.